mean, median, and mode. I want to talk about what those are. Pretty simple, but at the same time, often misunderstood. So we've got 5 people that have different amounts of money in their pocket. One has none. One has $7. One has $10. One has $20. And one has $48. And the question is, what is the mean amount of money in their pockets? MEAN. And this is the arithmetic mean that we're talking about. So there's a separate concept with the geometric mean and the harmonic mean. But this is going to be the arithmetic mean. And when I ask people what does mean mean, they're very quick to say 2 things. They'll say average, or they'll tell me how to do it. Add them all up and divide by how many you have. Neither of those define the mean. What the mean is an equal distribution of the whole. That is, if we forced these 5 people to all have the same amount of money, how much money would each person have? To find that, you're going to add up how much money there is, and then you're going to divide that equally among the number of people you have. Okay, so that's where the famous add them up and divide by how many you have comes from. You are giving everybody the same amount. That's a way of thinking about the mean. If I add here, you can go to a calculator to do this. 7 and 10 makes 17. 17 and 20 makes 37. 37 and 48 would make 85. And if you divide, you get a 17. Okay, this is your mean. And when I say, what does the number 17 represent, I often get wrong answers. I have people say, well, that's in the middle, or that's where the numbers are all close to. I hear different things. But what 17 represents is how much each person would have if we equally distributed the money. Okay, so we can make the list like this. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not encouraging this. I'm not encouraging that you take everybody's money and equally distribute it. That'll be for a different discussion if you want to get into some political discussions. But what I'm saying is, in order for this person with no money to catch up, he or she would have to be given $17. This person would be given $10. This person would be given $7. In order to get that money, it has to come from somewhere. This person would lose $3 and this person would lose $31. So the mean represents an equal distribution of how much there is. Okay, so it's probably the biggest mistake here is not in computation, but instead in knowing what it means. Let's look at the median, the same set. Now with the median, often refer to a divided highway, an expressway, and ask what's true about the median. People say, well, it's the grassy strip in the middle. And median here is the same thing. It's simply the middle. But there's a little bit more to it than that. It is the middle of an ordered set. Now, you can't just have a haphazard set. They have to be in order. Now, you can see this list is already in ascending order. It would be just as good to have it in descending order, though you don't usually see it that way. If there's an odd amount, you simply take the one that rests in the middle. Okay, that would be this one here. Most people find that just by counting. They just look to where the middle is and say, if I circle the 10, I've got 2 on each side. If you want to do that with a formula to find the middle with an odd amount, you would add 1 to the total and divide by 2. Okay, so if there's 5, add 1 to make 6, divided by 2 is the third item. The median here is 10. Now what that represents, again, let's think about that. The median represents the point where half the group or half the remaining group is above and half the remaining group is below. So if I say that these 5 people had a median of $10, then other than the one person that had $10, half the remaining group, these two, would have more than $10, and half the remaining group, these two, would have less or fewer than $10. Now, it's worth mentioning what happens if a 6th person walks in and they happen to have $49. Okay, what do you do there? Well, in this case, the middle would be sort of this line would be represented with this some position between this one and this one, because if I draw the line in such manner, you have 3 on the left, you have 3 on the right. And it come to find out if this is necessary, if there's an even amount of data, you would average the middle two. We've already talked about mean. So in this case, the median actually is a number that's not on the list. The median would be 15, but still, half the group has fewer than $15, half the group has more than $15. The last one you're going to see is mode. Let's go back to the original list. And with mode, I usually mention the fact that mode is a 4-letter word that starts with MO, and so is the word most. It's a 4-letter word that starts with MO. But again, we have some different representations here based on what shows up how many times. In the event where everything shows up exactly once, most people are going to tell you there's no mode. Occasionally, you'll find a book that says that they're all a mode, which is kind of silly, I think, but there is no mode in this situation. If, however, a 6th person joined in and had $48, clearly 48 would be the mode. It's the one that shows up the most. 48 shows up twice. Every other datum shows up exactly once. So 48 would be your mode. Let's say we have a 7th person that joins the list and they have no money. Well, in this instance, both 48 and 0 are modes, because though they tie with each other, they each show up more than all the others. So it's possible to have no mode, one mode exactly, or more than one mode, depending on the situation. Okay, so let's try to understand, what does mean represent? Mean is the equal distribution. It's giving everybody the same amount. What does median represent? Median represents finding a halfway point. At what point can I declare that half the group has more, half the group has less? And what does mode mean? Well, mode would be the most frequent. Okay, so there's some instances where you'd want to know, well, what's my most common number? What's my most likely scenario? Not necessarily in the middle, not necessarily an equal distribution. Which one shows up the most would be mode. So mean, median, and mode.